you everyone for tuning in to the Sunnyinthe6 podcast. I'm your host, Sunnyinthe6, and I'm here with Sam from Soul Science. We just had an amazing Reiki session, and I'm feeling very light.
Awesome.
I'm just excited to be here with her so we can talk more about Reiki healing and how it can be helpful for dealing with different types of trauma.
Thank you guys so much for coming in, and thanks for allowing me to be your first Reiki healer, I guess. This was your first session, so that was really exciting for me.
Yes, it was. And it was definitely enlightening. It was very, I don't know how to explain it, but like it was very relaxing, one. Two, I definitely 100% felt the energy flowing, which I was like not surprised about, but like, oh,
I love that.
Like I can feel that.
Yes, I think a lot of people are surprised their first session as well. They don't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
Our best suggestion is just to come in with an open mind, to experience whatever it is that comes to you naturally, to be authentic in that. And a lot of people after their first session are genuinely surprised at the things that they could feel or sort of subtly see. We get people seeing sort of flashes of colors or feeling the movement of the energy, which I think is really neat. They're usually pretty impressed with the fact that like, oh, I didn't even know that I had the ability to feel this, right?
Yeah. Can you tell the watchers and listeners, like, what is Reiki healing?
Okay, so Reiki is a form of Japanese healing. It works on the subtle energy system. So we have hundreds of chakras throughout our body. There are 7 main, and they run along the central meridian of our subtle system. So starting at the bottom, we have the root, represented by the color red, moving up to the sacral, which is orange, the solar plexus, which is yellow, the heart, which is green, the throat, which is blue, the third eye, which is indigo, and then the crown, which is violet, purple, or some people represent that with like a bright white light.
Okay. So it's pretty much healing those general chakras, essentially.
So what we aim to do, the belief is that everyone is born with this energy inside of them. So the Christians look at it as a soul. In Chinese medicine, we're looking at qi, for example, whatever it is that resonates with you. It's just the energy, the life force energy that is within all of us. So Reiki believes that we're all born with this. And during training, the ability to work with that energy is passed down from master to student through a process called attunement. So there are 3 different levels in Reiki. With level 1, you're learning how to work with the flow of energy for your own good. So it's sort of self-healing. Level 2, you're learning to work with others and with those at a distance. And then level 3, you're learning how to become a master, how to pass that energy down from yourself to your students so that they can facilitate healing for others. So once you're attuned, the belief is that you now have the ability to connect with universal Reiki energy. It allows you to move the subtle energies within your client's body to facilitate faster healing. So as we move through life, one experience after the next, we tend to pick up pieces of trauma. Most of us have a story. Most of us have been through something heavy that has affected us. But it doesn't always have to be negative. Exciting incidents, for example, can also change the way our energy is moving. Now, when these more traumatic incidents occur and we are unable to clear them, heal them, deal with them effectively, they sort of compound in our system. They create stagnations or blockages to various energy channels. If those are not cleared appropriately, they can cause physical issues, mental issues, emotional issues. So the belief is that keeping the flow of energy running smoothly will lead to a healthier overall state of well-being.
And what kind of things do people usually come in for Reiki healing?
Well, People come in a lot for issues with physical pain, for example, muscle aches, post breaks. We've had people in post-concussion looking to rebalance the hemispheres. We see a lot of people who are struggling with mental health issues that want to come in. It may be high levels of anxiety. They're dealing with depression. They may have had difficult childhoods. They're unsure of how to deal with that. They're sort of going to therapy. They're putting in the work with cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. They're not seeing results and they don't know what to do. So they come in, they examine energy healing. It's sometimes a last-ditch resort for some people. And they walk in not quite sure what to expect and then leave feeling like this is exactly what I needed, which is really, really rewarding for sure.
That's kind of like me. I was like, I don't know what to expect, but like once you started, I felt the rush of energy.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa.
It's palpable even in the temperature we were discussing. Like the heat in the room goes up so much when you start a session. You're sort of peeling down your layers of clothing.
Literally. And then near the end, I was like, whoa, I can really feel like cold right now.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I feel it.
And that sort of speaks to a process that we use in Reiki healing called Bioin Scanning. So at the beginning of your session, I go through first with a dowsing pendulum to diagnose the state of energy in each area. So we start with a still pendulum suspended above each energy center, and we allow it to take on its own movement. So when the pendulum is spinning sort of in a circle, that's a good indication that there's a healthy flow of energy happening there. When there's no movement, or when it's moving sort of in a back and forth pattern or up and down, and it's different for every Reiki practitioner. But for me, that's my indication that there is a stagnation. I hesitate to use the word blockage because I don't believe that chakras can ever truly be fully blocked. They're always spinning, sort of like a wheel or a disc, but they can slow down based on the traumas we accumulate over the course of our life. So based on the way your chakra is spinning, that will have an effect on the way the pendulum moves. So that gives me an indication primarily of what is happening in that specific energy center. After diagnosing with the pendulum, we move through with our hands, and this is where we're trying to detect the level of biosyn, or energetic toxicity, that accumulates in each energy channel. Those can manifest as feelings of warmth, heat, cold. Sometimes it's almost like a static feeling under the surface of your skin, pins and needles perhaps. And each different sensation will speak to the level of biosyn that's present in that specific energy center. In your particular situation, we noticed through the assessment that we did just prior to your treatment, and then through the pendulum dowsing and the Bioin scanning, that we were seeing more stagnations in the lower three chakras. So it was really cool during your treatment that you were able to feel the cold once we got to those lower three chakras, because that's exactly the way that it feels in my hands.
Really? That's crazy, because I really did feel it.
Yes.
And then even when you were on my third eye and then you put your hands behind my head.
Yes.
I could literally feel like a throbbing.
Absolutely. And that's the flow of Reiki entering your subtle body system, which I think is really amazing.
Yeah.
And as clients, everyone sort of has a different sensitivity to energy. So it's really amazing for me to see when the more sensitive clients come in, that they can genuinely feel the flow of energy through their system, even if they're not anticipating that feeling. It often takes them by surprise.
Definitely. And one thing, when you said like some people, they cry, honestly, like my boyfriend can say like I'm very emotional, like I cry for anything.
Yes.
So when you said that, I got kind of scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
I'm so sorry.
am I gonna be crying the whole time? I was thankful that I didn't cry, but like I definitely felt the energy, which is like,
that's amazing.
it's rewarding. I think like it felt nice. Like even now, like I feel like uplifting. Even when we're having that little issue with the mic, I'm like, no, my energy's fine.
It's fine.
We got this.
I'm all grounded now.
Yeah. Exactly. So what made you turn to like become a Reiki healing practitioner?
Well, my journey into to energy healing began about 15 years ago. And it was totally by fluke. One of my best friends had phoned me one day and said, my mother-in-law it was her fiance's mother at that point in time. She signed me up for this yoga class. And 15 years ago, yoga was not super mainstream. It was something that like the elderly did, really, right? And so we didn't know a lot about it. And it sounded sort of like hokey. So she was like, I'm not going to this alone. You are absolutely coming with me. And I was like, oh, I am not. I have no interest in this whatsoever. But she dragged me sort of kicking and screaming. And we walked in, and it was it was structured in an unusual way. I haven't been to a yoga class since that was quite structured in the same. So she did the first, I want to say, hour or close to it of yoga theory. And then the second hour or close to it was the actual practice. So in the theory, she would teach us about the poses that we were going to be doing and the physical effects they had on the body. So I'm a big researcher. So if you can give me new information on something, I'm all ears. So hearing the way that these poses would affect your blood flow, your neurotransmitters, your brain chemistry was super interesting to me. So that sort of got me hooked a little. But then she mentioned chakras, and that for some reason stuck with me long after the class. So I remember going home, starting to do some research on them and being like, oh my gosh, this is really, like, this is incredible, right? And it ends up almost like a rabbit hole. Like you want to keep digging and digging and digging. I myself had experienced quite a traumatic childhood. I had issues from pre-adolescence with anxiety and eating disorders and sort of different manifestations of the trauma that I had experienced. And when I began working with yoga and then later with meditation and then later with Reiki, it was like each new door that opened helped to heal something within me that I had been working so hard all of my life to address and was never successful with. Learning the chakra system and how to facilitate my own well-being, it made all of the difference. I felt like I wasn't relying on someone else to heal me. I was taking my power into my own hands. I was learning how to do it for myself. I was educating myself, and I was applying these different teachings or different principles, and they were making a palpable difference in my day-to-day life, on my anxiety levels, on my ability to achieve recovery through the eating disorders in ways that nothing else I had ever tried had ever been successful. So for me, it just was such a natural, just a natural way to heal. It just felt right. There was no pressure. There was no sort of forcing myself to fit into this box. And knowing that energy healing takes a different shape and a different form for every person that does it made it easy for me to feel like I can't do this wrong. I can't fail at this. This is something that will only serve to enrich my healing experience, taking that pressure away from it. So that's sort of how I found my way here. I felt it was really important to make that accessible to other people, other women especially. I'm big on supporting other women in business. I think that's a key element to what we do here. Community is a big part of it. And everything sort of came together really naturally and holistically. The energy healing community in general has always felt like a really safe space. It's comprised of some really good souls, some really good spirits who just want to show up and make a difference for one another. And it's always felt like somewhere I've just belonged.
Yeah. And I think that that's how you know that you're really walking and living in your purpose, when everything kind of just falls into like where it's supposed to be. It's like, oh, that was easy. This is
like, you know, you stop feeling like you're trying to fit like a square peg into a round hole, and everything just suddenly makes sense.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
How does Reiki differ from different forms of energy healing or traditional medicine type of healing?
Okay, so with respect to other forms of energy healing, you can sort of layer them.
Okay.
What we do here at Soul Science is very layered. So you will have noticed through your treatment that we began with some deep breathing exercises. We moved into some sound clearing, and then we used biofield tuning with the different tuning forks along with the Reiki to build an entire session. So each of those modalities can be used individually, but they're more potent when they're used together. So while there are huge differences, for example, we could do just a straight on biofield tuning session, no Reiki whatsoever. And that helps to bring your chakras back to a state of homeostasis. It helps to usher in healing frequencies. We know physics tells us that everything that exists is vibrational. We're just buzzing little atoms, right? This sign is purple because of the vibration that it's occupying, right? So we're using different tuning forks with different frequencies, and I use a total of 17 in my treatments, 2 for each chakra, and then 3 for opening and closing the auric fields. The first set of forks that I use will bring the chakras back to their platonic state, so where they would be had there been no trauma interrupting them.
Is that what the homeostasis?
Yes.
Every time you said it, I was like, every time I was looking forward to that word, because that's when the sound would come, and then I would get this like nice feeling.
Absolutely.
So I was like, oh, it's homeostasis.
So we use the vibrational forks for that. So the vibration that is occurring, and I hold them suspended over each chakra, that's telling that chakra, hey, this is the vibration that you should be moving at. This is where you're going to feel your best and your healthiest, and where your energy is going to flow the most smoothly. After that's done, I move in with forks that come from the solfeggio frequencies. Those are very ancient healing frequencies. They're pulled from the Bible, actually, moving back hundreds and hundreds of years. So the second set of forks that we use, the solfeggio frequencies, are the ones that are a little louder. So they're unweighted. The first set have weights on the top, so we can use those along your spine if we're doing a past Reiki clearing. The solfeggio set is unweighted, so they don't vibrate in quite the same way. But the frequency of the sound helps to usher in the healing frequencies that correspond to each individual chakra. So although that particular aspect of energy healing is referred to as biofield tuning, I feel that it enriches Reiki on its own. I have never done a session without my forks. I feel like I'd be out of my element, I think. So while there are a number of different modalities that you can use in energy healing, all of them work together to bring you the best and the most potent healing. Different healers work with different modalities. There are some Reiki healers that will strictly use Reiki. There are others that will combine it with guided meditation. Everyone has their own way and their own approach that's super unique, super beneficial. I find that layering the modalities that I use here to be the most effective for me and the clients that I've seen. So yeah, I guess that's how they can work hand in hand.
Okay. And is there any situations where Reiki shouldn't be used?
Well, Reiki is meant to be a complementary therapy. So we always suggest that if you are having genuine health concerns, of course you see your regular practitioner. It will help to enhance any healing work that you're having done, even if it's outside of the energetic field. So for example, we would never suggest that you forego your chemo treatments, but we would suggest that you come in addition. That first of all, because we can recalibrate the flow of your energy, the chemo will be that much more effective. But also, energetically detoxing from that type of medication is so important. So it will help to facilitate that as well. you asked about how it works with, I guess, the
Traditional medicine, yeah.
Right. So the human endocrine system is comprised of 7 main glands. If you were to map those out and then separately map out the chakra system and then
same.
overlay them, they line up, right? So our reproductive system overlaps with the sacral chakra. Our cardiovascular system overlaps with the heart chakra. So it's just 2 different ways of looking at the same thing. And again, we believe that keeping the flow of that energy smooth, clean, clear helps you to have a strong physical body as well. We think that sort of everything starts with the energy.
With the energy. That makes perfect sense. The reason I asked that, I have a friend who actually, she's going through a lot medically, and she was the one I told you we were looking at your website earlier because she got the vaccine and she's had a lot of complications since getting it, and doctors pretty much don't know what's happening with her. They can't give her any answers. And I was telling her, I'm like, maybe you should come see Sam. And like, I'm like, it's not gonna hurt, like it's not gonna make it worse for sure, right? Like it's
Definitely
only gonna help in conjunction with what they're already doing.
Exactly. And that is difficult. My daughter is 12, and when she was a child, we didn't know at the time, she's our only child, but she experienced a number of adverse reactions to her vaccination. And we were sort of in the same place. The doctors didn't really know what to make of it. And we found our footing through natural and holistic healthcare. We were seeing a naturopath, doing lots of herbal work, things like that. And while most people are able to receive these treatments without any issues, there are, that small group of people who will react badly, and they're sort of left with nowhere to turn.
Yeah.
If she's struggling with that, she can absolutely reach out. I'd be happy to have a discussion with her for sure.
Perfect. I'll let her know that. She was also asking, like, do you do home sessions or do you only do it here?
I can do home sessions, absolutely. I do generally work those around what I have booked in the clinic.
Of course, yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I'll let her know. You'll probably be hearing from her. So I was going to ask, can anyone become a Reiki healer? But you did say yes.
Yeah, literally anyone. All you need is an open mind, a willingness to learn things that may seem a little off the beaten path at first, right? Trust in the process. You show up for your level 1, and it's, you're learning about the chakra system. It's a lot of information to take in. You're wondering, how is this going to pan out? How is it going to work? And we were speaking earlier about, showing up and being like, how am I supposed to get all of this information about someone's state of well-being by using my hands?
Exactly.
But genuinely just trusting in the process takes you there. There was so much I was able to pull from your session with literally knowing nothing about you. Just by what your body is telling my hands.
Well, let's go into that. Let's go into the session. So what did you pull from my session? Let me hear.
Okay, so first of all, I was not anticipating, so your assessment that you'd filled out prior had shown some stagnations in the lower chakras. So I was anticipating those. What I was not anticipating was your third eye, which literally knocked me off balance. I fell back into the wall.
Wow.
And for me, there was just sort of that nudge, lots of heat in the hands. But the energetic nudges that I was getting during that was that there was some sort of crisis of faith that had occurred. There was something that blocked you from seeing the bigger picture, how your faith is meant to continue to integrate itself into your life after whatever it is that you've experienced. Moving down, once I was treating your heart chakra, I was feeling heat through both hands, but in such a way, and this pattern continued through your lower chakras, that I would initially feel the heat in my left hand, and because you are right-handed, just so that everyone listening is aware, your dominant hand, so that side of your body, usually is a representation of the self. Your non-dominant hand, that side of your body, is usually a representation of others. So with you being right-handed, and my feeling the heat coming up through the left primarily, and then following suit in the right, I was able to tell that, first of all, you're having maybe some issues with receiving love from other people, but also with some self-love. That was something that you were maybe having a little bit of difficulty with. The pattern with it starting in the left and then moving into the right hand, I also observed through your solar plexus, your sacral chakra, and your root, which to me was an indication that the expectations that other people have on you, the way other people see you, the way other people interact with you, or how you feel about those interactions, was largely based on other people's perceptions. That affected the way you saw yourself, the way you were able to show up in the world, the way you were able to feel grounded, and that primarily those issues that you were having in one aspect or another were relative to the relationships you had with other people. I don't know how comfortable you are talking about.
My podcast knows all about my trauma, so
okay.
You can continue.
Okay. So through the solar plexus, there was a sense of the solar plexus is sort of our powerhouse. It's our willpower. It's, again, how we show up in the world. And that was very tied up in others as well. Moving down into the sacral, which is associated with our reproductive organs, with our creativity, spontaneity, passion, joy, sensuality. I was getting waves of nausea, super, super intense nausea, and tons of heat in both hands. While the heat was manifesting, there was also sort of pins and needles. And then after that sort of set in, there was a flush of cold through both hands. Cold is the most intense stagnation that's represented through the Bioin Scanning process. So through that, I was able to tell that you had struggled with something reproductively, and you had mentioned the loss of your daughter. And there was sort of a nudge in there, an overwhelming nudge, that it was tied to whatever the stagnation in the third eye was. So that the loss of your daughter overlapped with your crisis of faith at some point. And that also trickled down into your root chakra, to your ability, or into your ability to feel well-grounded, safe, secure. There was also, I was able to pull from that area that you struggled with self-blame when it came to those things, that somehow, in some way, shape, or form, you were finding fault in yourself for these tragedies that had occurred from you. And I didn't know any of this going into your session. So it's a testament to just, I think, trusting the energy and how it's speaking to you.
It's crazy that you picked all that up from my energy, because it's spot on. Like, it's actually, like, when you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. Like, I literally lost my faith in that process, and I after blamed myself because I thought that was the outcome, because I lost my faith. And that's something that I struggle with even to like this day. Like, I'm trying, I'm healed, I'm trying to get over it and past it and know that it wasn't anything to do with me. But it's hard, but it's crazy that you picked that up.
Yeah.
It's like very, what's the word? It just lets me know, like, this is real. Like,
right. Like, this is a legit thing.
Yeah.
Energy never lies. And that's one of my favorite things about Reiki, right? There's never any judgment, because you can come in even if you're feeling great and you just want to make sure that you continue to feel great. Some people show up for a session and there's very little to be picked up from their energy system because they're flowing pretty well.
That's a good thing.
Right. That's an amazing thing. Other people come in and they're not even sure what it is they're feeling. But they're trusting their energy enough to be open with it, and that's all a Reiki practitioner really needs
Yeah.
is your ability to remain open. Your energy will tell us the rest.
I was wondering, I don't know if you remember which part you were on, but when I like twitched and like the stone fell off.
Yes, actually, that was when I was at your heart chakra.
Really?
Yes.
That shocked me. I didn't even realize. Like, I was like, whoa, what happened?
It's okay. We just moved back, replaced the,
Yeah.
we were using lapis lazuli over the third eye. So
Yeah.
we do place stones over each chakra after we're done funneling in the Reiki and using the forks. We'll place a stone before moving on to the next chakra.
And is that to close it?
That's just, so each chakra correlates with a number of different stones for a number of different reasons. And every practitioner will have their own preference for which stones they use. I love lapis lazuli as a third eye stone. So I just sort of popped that back on and we went about our business.
Perfect. Yeah, it was great. It was definitely like, I'll probably be back.
Oh, awesome.
Like,
That's
for
awesome.
Sure. What are some common misconceptions that people might come in with about Reiki?
So I think that when people are new to the experience, they expect that they will come in for a session and their problems will be completely resolved. We like to tell people that it's sort of like taking a supplement, right? You can take one dose of a vitamin supplement, but it's probably not going to fix
yeah.
what ails you, right?
Exactly.
It has a cumulative effect, and your commitment to that is just as important as your commitment to any other sort of medical treatment. I think that there's also the misconception that the quote unquote healer that you're seeing is going to be the one that fixes everything for you. When in actuality, a good healer will tell you that you are the master of your own healing. You're here for these treatments just because we've been attuned to them, right? But the knowledge that we give you, the information that we send you home with, the tips, the tricks, the meditations, all of that is to empower you to take your healing into your own hands. And when you do that, that is when you're going to see the larger results. It's when you're going to feel things starting to shift. We don't ever want to set the precedent that you're coming in here to us and we're going to heal you because we're so magical and we're so wonderful. Our job is to, yes, absolutely facilitate the flow of healthy energy, but it's also to empower you to know that you have what it takes within you to do this yourself as well. We are always the happiest when a client walks away feeling like, you know what, I can do this. I've got this. I know, even if you don't know what the steps are, I understand now that this is energy. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to reach out if I don't know where to go and say, hey, do you have tips or tricks or meditations? Can you send me a link to those Hertz frequencies you were recommending, right? And then maybe you tell somebody else about the frequency work or about a meditation, and they incorporate that into their own healing. We want it to ripple out, right? The more of us that take on the role of healers to ourselves, the higher the vibration of the entire planet. And that's what we want.
Exactly. It's true. Can someone do, so I seen a post, I'll start with this. I saw a video when I was like, let me do some research about Reiki before I go in totally blind. But a girl was saying that like people actually like do Reiki on themselves all the time. Like if you like bump your knee or something and like you put your hand there to like, to make it stop hurting. It's like the same thing.
It is a very innate skill. Even when we're little, right? We fall, we scrape our knee. The first thing we do is put our hands over it. It is so intuitive of us to place our hands, which are the centers of moving energy in our body. Whether or not you're attuned to Reiki, again, we're all born with that energy inside of us. Even without an attunement, learning to focus on areas of pain in a self-meditation, visualizing white light even going to that area is so, so helpful.
I found it a little bit difficult to concentrate when you were doing the session, because I was trying to follow it because I knew we were going to talk about it after, right? So I was trying to follow it, and I was trying to keep track of the hertz sounds that you were making. And like for a while they all sounded the same, and then I noticed like the number that you were saying. I'm like, oh, that was a different one. And like and I started like listening, and I'm like, oh, that was a different one. And I like, honestly, they were really like, what is it about the sound frequencies of it that like just makes it so relaxing?
That's a super loaded question.
Yeah.
So they biofield tuning or sound healing specifically works with frequencies. So each chakra, again, vibrates at a specific frequency. The forks that we choose to use are correlated to each specific chakra. So the reason that you're feeling more and more relaxation as we're going through is because not only now is there Reiki, but these Hertz frequencies, the way that these are vibrating, they're actually teaching my chakras where they need to be, how they need to be buzzing, for lack of a better word. They're bringing them back to, again, a state of homeostasis. And now everything is starting to flow the way that it should. I take everything back to physics, right? So, for example, one of my favorite forks is the unweighted solar plexus fork. That's tuned to 528 hertz, which technically does not just apply to the solar plexus, but it's one of the most potent frequencies that we have on the planet for DNA repair. So if people come in, and I actually have some studies here, I print them out because I love this fork so much, and I send them home with clients who specifically say, you know, whatever it was when you got to sort of like my midsection, that's when I started to feel a really big shift. I'll send them home with the studies, and it talks about the ability of this one specific frequency to actually heal and repair the structure of our DNA.
There's like scientific, like,
oh yeah,
really?
There's so much science on frequency healing.
That was actually my next question, if there's any scientific studies.
Yes, there are tons, and I will send you home with one today.
Perfect. Love that. So you said this earlier that different people use different stones, but like, is there ones that are commonly used for like each chakra?
So there are a couple of ways to look at it, bringing it back to frequency again. So if you had they're called Herz Readers. They're these little machines. They have these little prongs on the end, so you could, pick it up, hold it against a stone, and the screen will tell you what frequency this stone is vibrating at. So there are a number of frequencies that correlate to each chakra, not just the two that I use. Like I use the Platonic chakra frequencies as well as the solfeggio frequencies, but there are many different frequencies that you can use for each energy center. So you can measure the frequency of a stone and then choose the stone that most closely correlates to what I like the best is the Platonic frequencies, because we want everything to go back to base, right? You can choose one that resonates with the solfeggio frequency. You can choose based on color, because chromotherapy is a really big thing with chakra healing. So, for example, anything relative to the root chakra, the color for that particular energy center is red. But it's also our earthly chakra. It's what connects us to the planet. So anything dark, browns, blacks, anything sort of earthy is going to be a really potent root chakra stone. Anything that's orange, anything that's kind of fiery is a really good sacral chakra stone. Yellow for the solar plexus, green for the heart, blue for the throat, indigo for the third eye, and then purple amethyst or clear quartz, specifically for the crown chakra. Now, that being said, it can get pricey. Stones are not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. So one thing that I like to tell my clients specifically is that clear quartz is the master healer. You can substitute clear quartz for any other stone. So if you don't have a full set of stones and you really would like to work on some crystal healing at home, grab a few pieces of clear quartz. It's one of the least expensive stones on the market. It is readily available in abundance. So we're not destroying the planet, mining it up.
Yeah.
Safe and ethical mining practices are really important to us here as well. And also we want to make healing accessible to everyone. We don't want it to only be for people who have the extra money to pour into it. So if you would like to use some stones and you don't have the extra funds for them, I always recommend clear quartz.
Okay. My sister, hi sis, she gave me, when I was actually pregnant with my daughter, she gave me literally a box. She's like, she's obsessed with stones. She's like, I have a lot of extra and I know you could use some good energy. So she gave me like literally a box of stones, and like she put like a little piece of paper on each one, like to like tell me what they all mean and everything. So like recently we've been putting them like all around the house so we can get good vibes and good energy. So I think we have a couple clear quartz
pieces.
So
that's awesome.
At least I know I can use those.
With crystals as well, they how do I make this uncomplicated? So if we're looking at trauma from your past, if you've had a traumatic childhood, one of the key components to healing is going to include shadow work. It's going to include inner child healing, the hard stuff, right? Yeah. You need to be like in a pretty good place to want to take that on. It gets quite heavy. One of my favorite stones for inner child healing is kunzite. That's not necessarily correlated to any one specific chakra, but because it represents inner child healing, I love to use that stone personally for shadow work and inner child work on the heart chakra. So there's a number of different ways you can use them. It doesn't just need to be based on one specific chakra. As your sister had mentioned, they all sort of represent something different. Yeah. So however that best resonates with you is the best way to use them. Everyone's going to use stones differently.
I'll even say my boyfriend, he was going through the box the other day. He's like, you just have all these stones. That's why we started putting them around the house. He's like, you just have them here sitting in a box. We need to get the energy out in the house. And then after, he was like, I don't know, I felt weird and I felt like really like a little bit loopy. I'm like, maybe it's because you were touching all those stones. Like, is that possible?
It is. Yeah? Yes. If you're energetically sensitive, 100%. I find for me, I will tell maybe an embarrassing story about one of my sisters. But I find that tourmaline, so we've got some of it here. This
the black
darker,
one. Yes. Yeah. We put it on the doorways.
Yes. So it's a great grounding stone. And I love it for larger spaces as well, like around the home, in the garden. I do not like this stone for me as a personal energy stone. So I can't carry that one around with me. It's almost too intense, really? I find. And I'm fairly energetically sensitive, so that could be part of the reason. But I was at my sister's house last summer, and she was not in a good place with our youngest sister, actually. And she was feeling sort of agitated. We had all been at her house that weekend. And I was like, it's okay, just calm down. I'm sort of the voice of reason among my sisters. And I had a small piece of tourmaline with me, and I popped it into her pocket. She's also fairly energetically sensitive, and we sort of forgot about it. And I guess within an hour and a half or so, this sweet little sister of mine had punched my other sister in the face.
What?
So, yes. So I was like, please take that out of your pocket and don't touch that stone again.
It's not for you.
Right. Everyone reacts differently. Other people are super grounded and super comforted by tourmaline. It just depends on your sensitivity.
Okay. So they can all affect different people different ways.
Absolutely.
Just depending on your sensitivity. Okay. Oh, yes. I wanted to ask, what is the Karmic Collective?
Oh, yes. Okay. So the Karmic Collective is a newer initiative of soul science. It began last month. It was our first meeting. It's been in the designing process for a few months. It was something we've been working towards. And it's held here at the clinic, the Alive and Free Hypnosis and Wellness Clinic in Mississauga. We open the doors to a free group every month. We invite community members to come in. We are trying really intensely to build a strong support network of women and men who just want to show up, to provide a support network, a safety net for one another, who want to share their stories, who want to heal together, and to serve our community. So while the group is entirely free, we do ask those members who are able to bring in a non-perishable food item. We collect them and we donate them to local shelters, charities, community food pantries, things of that nature. We have our second meeting coming up on the 27th of April. It begins at 6 p.m. There's no end time, and that's by design. We never really know how long the sharing portion of things is going to take. So we'll gather here in this room. We sort of move things around. We have a large circle. We share what we're struggling with, what we're going through, what we could use some help or assistance or support with. Once that's complete, we do a group meditation, a group biofield tuning and Reiki session. And then we also have a Reiki box. So those who are unable to join us, or if the people who are in attendance have friends or family members who could maybe benefit from distance Reiki and they weren't able to make it in, they can write notes with the names of the people they'd like to have distance Reiki sent to, well wishes for people who are in recovery or who are undergoing surgeries or having difficulties with their health. And those remain totally anonymous. So they're put in the Reiki box. And then once a month, I will go through, I'll take each slip of paper out. I don't even read them. I hold them between my palms. There are a number of different symbols you're given during your Reiki attunements. So we will use the symbols over each slip of paper, specifically the distance healing symbol. Attune each slip to Reiki healing, and then burn it. I have specific ritual candles that I use to burn it. I believe that that releases the intention to the universe to send the Reiki to who it is intended for, as long as it's in the well-being or the best interest of all of those relative to the situation. And that's something that we do at each of the monthly meetings as well. We really encourage people who are maybe lacking a support system to come in, to check it out. And a big component of that is keeping healing accessible. We understand that healing sessions are not necessarily in everyone's budget, but we don't think that that should stop people from experiencing the benefits that come with it. Yeah. So even if it is only once a month for a couple hours, you can come in, you can experience the benefits of Reiki, of biofield tuning, and of building a community support network of genuinely kind-hearted humans who just have the goal of showing up to support one another and serving their community.
I love that. I'll definitely be here.
Oh, I love that. I would love to have you.
Definitely 100% be here. This has been a great episode. I did have one actually more question because it's kind of like trending topic current. Sure. What do you think about, or what are your insights on the eclipse?
Whew. Okay, so I do generally work with moon phases. And even if there is a lunar eclipse, I will not do any sort of manifesting or releasing energy. Eclipses represent chaos energy for me. Some people thrive with chaos energy because things are just kind of moving really authentically, sort of like life, right? It's not necessarily in a straight line, and people can feel really empowered by that. And for those people, I mean, absolutely all the power to you. Soak that energy up, use it to your advantage. But it really throws me for a loop. When there are any sort of solar or lunar eclipses, my energy tends to feel pretty drained. I feel kind of scattered. My anxiety's a little bit higher. So with the eclipse coming up, I have definitely had some nerves about, you know, what's maybe sort of manifesting universally. Yeah. Also a little concerned about those rockets that are being sent towards it. That's
the part that I was like kind of questionable about that.
That is intense. I'm also a little skeptical about why.
Why?
Well, yes. First of all, why are you doing that? That's like a full question on its own. But also, why specifically this one?
Yeah,
right?
like this is not the first one.
No, we've had more than like a couple eclipses in our lifetime. And we've never suggested emergency preparedness kits or given children the day off of school.
Or shut down Niagara Falls.
Yes. So I do have some apprehension as we approach that date. It's a really heavy period astrologically speaking anyway. We had a lunar eclipse not too long ago. We have the solar eclipse. We're in Mercury retrograde. There is just a lot. We're in Aries season, which is like a really heavy season for me. And no offense to any of like the Aries listeners or whatever, but we know that like Aries is a more aggressive sign, right?
Yeah.
And that definitely has its positives for sure. We need that sort of assertion. We need those backbones, like it's paramount to the world continuing to spin as it does. But for those of us who are a little softer energy wise, it is a hard season, and a lot of us are really feeling the effects of that. I'm interested to see how the energy shifts after the eclipse passes, right? A little nervous about what's going to happen the day of, but super interested to see the way the energy feels afterwards.
Interesting. I'm on the same kind of vibe. I'm kind of like, what's happening? I don't really, I kind of just stay away.
Right. And there's just, it's so easy with social media for everything to blow up and to be big and scary, right? And we have access to so much more information than we've ever had before. So, like, I didn't need to know that CERN was firing up its large, like that's definitely Hadron Collider the day of. I didn't need to know that.
Nobody did, really,
right?
If you think about it, right? So it just makes you question, like, why? Why are they putting that information out there? Why are they trying to make everyone so scared? Why? Like, that's the part where it's like,
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Me too.
I'm not gonna lie.
Me too. A little bit. And it's tomorrow, right?
It is tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, so.
You're excited? Yeah. Oh. Well, you can share some of that energy with us.
Exactly. I can't wait to watch back the video of like
the session. Yes.
I think that's going to be such good content, and I'll probably like put a little bit of it in this podcast episode, like on YouTube.
Sure.
And I'll probably also do a video of it just by itself.
Okay.
Just kind of like to put that out there.
And so everyone can see me fall into a wall.
Exactly. I want to see that part. Right. I want to be like, wait, oh, that's the part.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, thank you.
Thank
for
you
doing
so
this
much.
collaboration with me. It was amazing energy. If anyone needs any Reiki healing, Sam is the one to come to.
Thank you so much. I've had so much fun today. You have incredible energy. Your partner has incredible energy. It's been such a fun day for me getting to experience your first session. I just have all of the happy, warm, and fuzzies. So I really appreciate you guys coming in.
Love that. We love to be here. And for the people who are listening, did you want to shout out your Instagram so they can reach out to you?
So on Instagram, you can find me at soulscience.healing, or you can feel free to check out our website at www.mysoulscience.ca. Feel free to pop us an email through the web, or to hop into our inbox on Instagram.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you for everyone for tuning into my frequency.
Oh, I love that. Love it.
I've been trying to work with that recently. So thank you for tuning into my frequency. I'm your host, Sunnyinthe6. This is Sam from Soul Science. And until next time, bye.